A nation unbowed, bravery, patriotism, love. These are some of the adjectives that a lot of Kenyans, including President Uhuru Kenyatta, have used to describe the country's response to the terror attack on 14 Riverside Drive that has left 14 people dead, with Kenyan security teams rescuing around 700 others from ground zero.
It was an ordeal that lasted close to 24 hours, ending with Kenyan special forces killing all the assailants in a seamless rescue operation spearheaded by the General Service Unit. And it came with a promise to make Kenya inhospitable to terrorists and terror networks in the country. Under
Interior CS Fred Matiangi's watchful eye, information was scanty but central and effective, perhaps in line with new security chiefs being in charge. And after gallant work by Joseph Boynet's men led by GSU Commandant Douglas Kanja, the focus now swiftly shifts to one of the first men on the ground, DCI Director George Kinoti, to pursue the criminal elements.
And even as the country mourns the fallen men and women tonight, we report on stories of triumph, courage, and the ultimate Kenyan spirit. KTN's Jeff Kirui is still at Riverside to bring us the very final pictures from that scene. Welcome to the broadcast tonight. Our sign language interpreter is Gideon Bogo. My name is Michelle Ngere Odiambo.
And Sophia Onura is also standing by at Jogoo House, the office of the Inspector General of Police, Joseph Boynet, to tell us the latest from that end of Nairobi City. We are covering this for you in the way only we can. I am Ben Kitili. KTN Prime begins right now.
We will seek out every person that was involved in the funding, planning, and execution of this heinous act.
14 dead, 700 rescued as government announces the end of Riverside siege after all terrorists are killed.
It's pain and agony as families troop to Chiroma mortuary to identify and pick bodies of their loved ones.
I saw something flying out the window. I thought it might be a grenade that's being thrown by the terrorists, so I took cover again in the kitchen.
Kenyans celebrate heroes and heroines who gallantly helped rescue people at the center of terror.
When we got to the stairs, as we were coming down trying to exit the building, some people started to shoot at us. So we ran into a bathroom.
And tonight we tell you the story of Ron Ngeno, a survivor who penned his death wish during the Riverside attack.
Welcome to the program. The coordinated attack on the Dusit Hotel building complex and subsequent response by Kenyan security agencies lasted close to 24 hours, with President Uhuru Kenyatta declaring it over at around 2 p.m. this afternoon.
As we have been reporting, close to 700 people were rescued since the operation began yesterday, and today the security officers were doing routine final sweeps.
Okay, KTN's Jeff Kirui is at Riverside to bring us the final sights and sounds from there. Jeff, good evening. What is happening there tonight?
Oh, well, a very good evening, Michelle. This is the 14th Riverside Drive along the Riverside Drive. And as it stands now, 30 hours later after the attack, and things are slowly coming back to normal, despite the fact that there is still heavy presence of security officers. I've managed to see a contingent of officers from the General Service Unit who are just doing routine checks and just to ensure that everything is going on as well. As even behind me as well, the 14th Riverside Drive heading to the Dusit 2 complex. The lights are back on, the street lights are back on. Remember, 30 hours earlier ago, this area was impassable and the situation currently is under control. Of course, there was also that vehicle which was actually said to be used by the attackers, which has already been dusted and cleared off this particular scene. And there is another emerging report from police officers that a similar car with similar registration, similar car, a Toyota Raktis, has already been impounded as well in Kitengela, and the owner arrested. And police officers, in collaboration with foreign agencies, are conducting investigation as well to establish the areas which the attackers visited, as well as establishing the routes which they have used. And of course, there are reports that there are also investigations ongoing to establish how the particular vehicle was registered. But from here in Riverside, what I can tell you is that university students from the University of Nairobi who reside at the Chiromo hostels are also going back to their hostel. Remember, the Chiromo campus, Chiromo hostels are just a stone throw away from the Dusit 2 complex, an area where the attackers attacked. And what I can confirm from here as well is that this scene has already been taken over by the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, and they are conducting a comping there just to see if they can get more evidence regarding this particular attack. And as it stands now, Michelle, is that it is already, the scene has already been cleared despite the fact that there are police officers. Michelle.
Many thanks, Jeff Kirui, there live for us from Riverside Drive, giving us the final sights and sounds from the scene of the attack.
Meanwhile, it was pain and agony as hundreds of relatives and friends of people who lost their lives in the Riverside attack trooped to the Chiromo mortuary to identify bodies of their loved ones.
Many of those who turned up for the exercise were overcome with emotion. And as KTN's Caroline B reports, postmortem tests were done on the bodies before being taken away for burial.
The compound of Chiromo mortuary was not short of wails and tears. The grief was too much to bear for some family members. These are the families of those who died at the Riverside Dusit complex attack. Among the mourners was Margaret Alwoch, the mother to James Odu Cobra. James, who succumbed to gunshot wounds, cried for help on social media as he gave an update on the Riverside attack. His family was set to celebrate his birthday today.
We got the information from Red Cross, but it was very late at night after we had camped there for almost 4 hours at the Chiromo area where the attack took place.
Margaret describes her son as a people's person.
James was an outgoing person. He was so outgoing that even before we could tell even some of our relatives, they were already getting the news from other sources.
Yasin Jama camped here since last night. He lost 2 relatives, one being his son, and only got the report of their death on social media through a photo that went viral. He was in the company of Mahamud, another relative who had a lucky escape from the hotel complex.
He gave me a call. Baba, kuna shida. What's wrong? Terrorists. Huh? Mara simu inakatika.
We have a WhatsApp group within the company, so we asked where is everybody, so everybody identified within the group and who was with who, but the 2 colleagues who are here today, Abdallah and Faisal, we couldn't locate them.
The family was set to bury the deceased today as per Muslims' religious customs, but they had to wait longer for autopsy tests to be conducted first before the body was released.
We were ready to bury the deceased. We normally have our Muslims, we have timing of the prayer. We had aimed the 1 p.m. prayer. Unfortunately, we've not been able to make it.
A terrorist does not have a religion, nor ethnicity, nor color.
Miss Meli, whose boyfriend Marcus Rodriguez died in the attack, has already communicated to his family in Australia. Marcus had come to visit Miss Meli and was to spend the night at a different hotel.
At around 1 p.m. I think is when he was able to access his phone. So when he was reaching me out, when I was talking to him, he was like, baby, and I was hearing gunshots from the background. Yeah, that was the last time we communicated him.
Humanitarian organizations have set up camp to assist the mourners who came in to report missing persons and those wanting to track their loved ones.
There is an order here for the families which are still queuing to identify and view the bodies of their beloved. The morgue attendants calls the names of the victims, then the family moves in, identifies and views the body, then comes out. This is done through the assistance of humanitarian organizations such as the Kenya Red Cross and the St. John's Ambulance, who have pitched tent in this morgue.
Some of the families had already bought caskets, awaiting to transport the victims' bodies, but they were to receive them once autopsy is done and the report is out. The body identification exercise will go on until all the bodies have been identified by their families. Caroline B, KTN News.
May the fallen rests in peace. Now, January 15th, 2019 will forever remain etched in the mind of one Ronald Ngeno, a father of two, who fell victim to the Riverside attack and, perhaps lacking any other means of airing out his frustrations, resorted to tweeting, sending a message of distress to his wife and children.
Now, fortunately, as KTN's Grace Courier tells us tonight, close to 12 hours later, Ngeno was finally rescued, and KTN News caught up with him at his place.
If I die, I love the Lord and believe I will go to heaven. Please tell my family I love them. I love you, Caleb, Mark, and Carol. Chilling words from a husband and a father, but Wednesday, the script is different.
At that time, I really did not expect that I would survive. I didn't know whether I would survive. So I just thought that it might be my last day on earth.
Ngeno was literally staring at death. Close to 12 hours inside a bathroom at the Dusit Hotel was like a lifetime to him.
Once we heard the loud blast, we were not sure what it was. And we thought that maybe it was a tire burst or something. But when we heard the gunshots, that's when now we knew there was something wrong going on.
His working place, the third floor of this building, a place that was too familiar for him, now besieged. And he only trusted to get help through his distress message, and his cry was heard.
We got some calls from the emergency services telling us that the army is going to, and the police will come in, and that they are going to knock the door so that we can know it's them and not somebody else.
And while encountering the ordeal, he could only cling to messages of hope, most from people he even didn't know.
Some have even sent me airtime. Some have sent me data bundles. Another person composed a poem about my situation. Others told me they've been praying the whole night. So the response has been immense, has been awesome.
But at the end of it, Ronald was happy to be alive, happy to be reunited with his family.
Yes, my wife was very happy to see me, as she knew that it was a very delicate situation. My children were more affected. They couldn't sleep.
Ronald is just one of the approximately 700 survivors who were safely evacuated from the Dusit attack that claimed the lives of 14. Grace Courier, KTN News.
We will seek out every person that was involved in planning, funding and execution of this attack. That was a promise that President Uhuru Kenyatta made to Kenyans in his national address after the Riverside terror attack.
While thanking the country's security apparatus for acting swiftly to neutralize the attackers, the president asked Kenyans to remain united and pray for the victims, even as the government pursues those behind the attack. KTN's Chris Nairu with that report.
After chairing the National Security Advisory Committee meeting at State House, Nairobi, and briefed by the heads of security on the Riverside terror attack, President Uhuru Kenyatta was quick to reassure Kenyans and foreigners in the country of their security.
We have confirmation that 14 innocent lives were lost through the hands of these murderous terrorists. I urge you to make sure that you inform the police and any authority of any suspicious individuals or actions that you may notice in your day-to-day life.
Despite the terror suspects being reported to have all been eliminated, the president promised that it will not end there until all those behind the heinous act are brought to book.
We will seek out every person that was involved in the funding, planning, and execution of this heinous act. We will pursue relentlessly wherever they will be until they are held to account.
The president also commended security forces and civilians who helped to evacuate those who were trapped inside the building to safety.
Over 700 civilians were evacuated to safety from the compound since the start of the attack through the early hours of this morning. The operational priority of the security services was first and foremost to safeguard civilian life.
Meanwhile, after attending the State House briefing, Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i visited the scene of crime at Riverside, accompanied by other top government officials, where they assured the general public of their safety and that normalcy had resumed in the area.
I need to assure the people of Kenya that the country is safe, we are secure, and we are ready to defend our country. We will not bend, we will not retreat, and we are not going to be intimidated by thugs whose interests are to try and hurt our way of life. Our way of life will continue as always.
But with the president's affirmation that the country will not relent in the fight against terrorism, focus will be on the security agencies to remain on high alert to avert any other possible attack. Chris Dairo, KTN News.